Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and yes, my hair is wet. Yes, I am fresh out of the shower and slouchy and comfortable and ready for a cold night spent in the apartment. Most of the United States is being hit by a winter storm. We got snow earlier in the week, and so we're not really where I'm at. I'm not getting snow, but a lot of people are. And it did affect my job because the stores that I work for are in New York. And so whenever they're getting snow, for whatever reason, apparently that affects the printer press. I just don't understand. I would like somebody to explain to me how snow is going to affect the printing of something for next Thursday. So an ad that was supposed to be done Sunday, all of a sudden had to be done today by 5 o'clock. I just don't get it, but it's done. And that means I probably will have a decent weekend free of that work. I still have readings to do because tomorrow's a full moon, so I have some kind of full moon, and I like to take advantage of full. So if I have a couple readings where I'm within that time frame, I try to do them on the full moon, so the day of the full moon. So I do have some readings to tomorrow, but again, that's fun because I tend to be full of energy. In fact, even tonight, like, I can feel it already. The night before, the day of, and the day after are very zingy for me, and so I'm definitely feeling it. But my aunt sent me, why do people do these things? Out of the generous kindness of her heart, she, was thinking of, I think my mom had these for a while, so I don't know if she sent them around Christmas time and I just now got them, but she thought of me and of Michael, at the time, because, obviously it's sad. So she sent me these children's books that, she knew would remind me of Michael. I have looked at least 2 of these children's books at Target and instantly put them down and said, no, I'm not reading that because that's going to make me cry. Why would you send this to me? I don't need to cry. So wherever you are, my love will find you. These are all by Nancy Tillman, and they're wonderful books. And my phone is going off, and I will go pick it up in just a minute. So sweet. Wherever you are, my love will find you. On the night you were born, we're here for a reason. This Nancy Tillman is wonderful, but she makes my niece, who has 2 little boys, she picks these books up and she just buys them and says I won't read them because she buys them, she won't read them in the store because they start to make her cry over her boys, and then takes them home and reads them and cries. So why would give them to somebody whose little boy is no longer with her? I don't know. Again, goodness of people's hearts, but sometimes I'm not sure people are thinking. However, I want to kind of turn these into some kind of joy, and so I thought today is Friday. I haven't done story time since I started doing daily vlogs because it just is all too much. We'll get winding down. Today's like the 22nd or something like that, so January is soon coming to an end, and I will get back to regularly scheduled things. But since I haven't really been reading to you, I figured I can't read those other ones because those are too, yeah. But this one, I skimmed this a little bit, and I thought this applies to all of you out there. So I'm going to read you a story, and then, and then I'll draw a card. So before I do that, though, I will go ahead and answer the question. Now, I don't have the paper. Do I have the paper? I know what the question is, but I thought at least I'd get the question correct. So today's question for 31 Days of Tarot is, do you charge money or other ways of compensation for your readings or services? The answer to that is yes. I went what I guess term professional, which means I guess taking compensation for readings February. So next month will be a year. I went since I have I started my business technically on Etsy, I think in the end of December, but I didn't do anything with it or push it until February. So I'm counting February 1st just because that's going to be my anniversary day. So yes, since it's almost been a year that I have been reading tarot and oracle cards and Lenormand professionally, and I do receive monetary compensation, as well as I do sometimes trade for decks and or mostly I've done it, I guess, for decks. So I have, but I try not to do that too much because, you know, how many decks I now have. But, so yes, I do that. And I know that there is some little bit of controversy about that. I have read where people, you know, have kind of mixed feelings about that, which personally, whatever somebody wants to do personally, whatever they feel led to do. I know some people only do things for like exchange or compensation in other ways than money, and or will only do it for free. Or I think some will do it, they'll do it for money, but they allow the other person to set the price of what they're going to pay. You know, there's various ways of approaching that. But I guess the idea of it somehow being wrong in some way to accept compensation for a tarot reading because it's a gift that you do, you know, you're doing it to almost like it's a spiritual thing, and so you shouldn't accept compensation for spiritual work. That never really made sense to me. I never really paid much attention to it. I didn't know that it was a big issue. I guess, you know, growing up religiously, I mean, priests are compensated by, I don't know that they actually get a paycheck, but they, you know, their living expenses and the things that they need to live are provided for. In the Catholic Church, as a Baptist, you know, we paid our pastors got a salary. Oftentimes their house was paid for. Sometimes they were provided with a car. You know, every church obviously is different, but even in the littler churches that I went to where the pastor still had to do some work, he was still paid what the church could afford to give them. Missionaries are paid, you know, for their, you know, to service and to help them to go off and do what they're doing. So yeah, so that I guess that never really, to me, made much sense because, you know, I guess in my world that I grew up in, that doesn't, you know, because you're doing something of a spiritual nature does not somehow preclude you from needing to pay your bills. So yeah, I liken it a lot to do with like psychotherapy, counseling, that kind of thing, where, you know, I would never go into a psychologist's office and expect to have free counseling. Now, there are people that offer their services for free for counseling or for a reduced rate, and that's fantastic. But for the most part, or a caregiver, you know, if I'm going to have, you know, somebody come in, end of life hospice care workers, you know, somebody's dying and they're there sometimes just to sit and to be with them and to take care of them. They're not really doing any medical things because they're just waiting. That to me is just deeply connective and spiritual, but yet they're compensated. So I guess I don't see the disconnect between something being spiritual and or esoteric and or just counseling based, if you don't even, you know, put the aspect of spirituality on tarot readings. All of that is, you know, compensated. We pay somebody for their time, for their learning, for their ability, however you might see that. And that is up to the person purchasing the reading to make sure that that person is in line with what you feel about tarot and is, you know, you're kind of on the same wavelengths and you feel that what they have to offer is worth compensating them for. If not, then, you know, you're obviously going to go on to somebody else. For me, I feel as if I have a lot of content now out there. Not at the beginning, it was harder because it's saying, you know, why should you charge? You know, I had certainly those kinds of wonderings of, you know, well, why should somebody compensate me? They don't know anything about me. At this point in the game, I feel like I have enough content there that everybody, as well as sample readings on my YouTube channel, that I think everybody who comes to get a reading from me probably has a pretty good idea of what they're getting. They pretty well know the way that I read. They pretty well know my reading style. They know what knowledge I have or what I don't have. And so I think that both parties are entering into agreement with an understanding of what they're getting. And I don't see anything about that for anyone to feel uncomfortable about. If you don't feel that you can offer a service that's worth paying for, then I think you either have to reevaluate if maybe you need to wait a while until you're more comfortable to offer, to readings for payment, or you need to reevaluate your kind of sense of self-worth. And that is a difficult thing. Setting pricing, it was very difficult at the beginning. It's been difficult as I've kind of had to shift things up along the ways to, to make sure that I struggle with the balance between needing to be fairly compensated because I do have bills to pay and life to live, as well as wanting to keep it accessible. So the ways that I do that is I might have higher readings, and so some of my full higher readings, might shift a little bit to where they were when I was at the beginning. That's something I'm kind of in the process of working through, but I always want to offer cheaper readings that are accessible to anybody so that they can get that. And like my grief readings, while I put a little more time and energy into those, I like to keep that price point low because that for me is something that I want to make sure that everybody has access to. So everybody who does this or anything similar, has different ways in which they do that. Find what is comfortable for themselves, what is fair for themselves, and kind of work through that situation. I also feel that as well as all of the tarot readers that I know of or that I'm, aware of, also, and I know this is not true of all tarot readers, but I guess in the kind of circle of tarot readers that I'm aware of and kind of watch, on YouTube and things like that, put out a lot of free content via blogs, their YouTube channel, and things like that. So they put a lot of free content out there that takes time and takes their resources and takes their knowledge and whatever, energetically that they put into that, including myself. I love doing YouTube videos. I love doing tutorials. I love doing deck walkthroughs. I love doing, trying to do the free reading things. What I'm going to try to do that once a month, or people try to do some free readings that way. So I feel like that we put a lot of free content out there, and so that for me personally, and I think for other readers as well, it also offsets that. Say, okay, I'm going to offer a lot of free content because I do want to give. It is a service and it is a gift that I do like to give to other people. But at the same token, taking compensation for a reading that I put a lot of time, effort, energy into, I don't think that's anything to feel uncomfortable about. It's the uncomfortability would come from the person purchasing it. If a person doesn't feel comfortable paying for a spiritual service, then they don't need to. There are, you can get free tarot readings here and there. There are, various places in which you can get free readings and or read for yourself, and that's fine. But obviously the people who do come looking for a tarot reading feel like there is value there and feel like they get something from it. And that's all compensation is that sort of exchange that says, I know that you're giving time and energy and knowledge, and I'm willing to compensate you for those things because I get something out of it. If you go to a tarot reader and you get a reading and you didn't get anything out of it, then that obviously maybe shouldn't go back. I guess. So I guess there's I think I'll just start cycling and saying the same thing. So the answer to the question is yes, I do take compensation for tarot readings, and the underlying question I will answer as no, I'm not uncomfortable about that. I am often uncomfortable about trying to set fair price points, but I'm never uncomfortable about actually being compensated for my time, energy, the work that I put into learning the different systems and accumulating the decks to do them, all those things is energy and resources that I've expended, and so being compensated for that does not make me uncomfortable in any way. So there we have that. It was a very interesting question, and I'm always interested to see how other people answer that. I also, just to say, to be clear though, I also do not look down on somebody who feels that, you shouldn't take compensation for and does these things entirely for free. That's everybody's individual decision. Okay, so there's that done. I mean, I know people don't like really talking about money and stuff. I thought it was a great question and an interesting one. It's always been interesting to me, though, that that's even been sort of a questionable thing because, I don't know, it just, people have to, if it's their job. Obviously, if it's something you're just doing on the side, which is how most of us start out, we don't start right away charging money. It's just that once you reach a certain level in which you feel like you have something to offer that's worth being compensated for, that's when the shift seems to take place. And if like myself and others, my pathway with this is on the path to hopefully someday this being all I do for a living. Like, this is what I want to do. It's not that I think I'm going to be living a life of luxury doing it. I think that's probably a misconception if anybody has that idea. But that I would be able to do something that I do feel gives something. I do feel it has value, that I'd be able to do that and help somebody else, as well as being able to take care of myself and feed myself and pay my bills. That's exciting to me, to be able to do that. And that's certainly where, I'm trying to take my business. Because it's something that I absolutely love to do. It's something that I think is extremely valuable, and so it's a win-win for me. And I do feel, it's a path. So I just lost my train of thought, so we're going to stop. Okay, so that's the answer to that. Before we do the card of the day, though, we're going to read this book together. And so if anybody doesn't like cheesiness, they can turn away, because cheesiness shall commence. So the name of this book is You're Here for a Reason. In a way, this is our giant card of the day, but I will still pull a card. But this is, in a way, I feel that this is a card for you. You know what, let me put this down. Try to get it as flat of a viewpoint as possible. So You're Here for a Reason by Nancy Tillman. Make sure you can see both. You're here for a reason, you certainly are. The world would be different without you by far. If not for your hands and your eyes and your feet, the world like a puzzle would be incomplete. Even the smallest of things that you do blossom and multiply far beyond you. A kindness, for instance, may triple for days or set things in motion in different ways. It travels much further than you'll ever know, under the treetops, over the snow, till it's wandered, how sweet is that, and fluttered, and floated, and twirled, making things happen all over the world. You're here for a reason. It's totally true. You're part of a world that is counting on you. So don't be too worried if some days fall flat. Good things can happen even from that. Life can be tricky, there isn't a doubt. You'll skin your knees trying to figure it out. But life works together, the good and the bad, the silly and awful and happy and sad, to paint a big picture we can't always see, a picture that needs you, most definitely. Remember that next time a day goes all wrong, to somebody else, you will always be strong. And that ball that you lose or that kite you let go could make someone's day. You just never know. You're here for a reason. If you think you're not, I would just say that perhaps you forgot. A piece of the world that is precious and dear would surely be missing if you weren't here. If not for your smile and your laugh and your heart, this place we call home would be minus a part. Thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness times two. I just can't imagine a world without you. You are loved. Aww, see how sweet is that? I just can't imagine a world without you. Okay, so there you have it. You're here for a reason. We're all here for a reason. And that was a lovely, sweet book, and I enjoyed sharing that with you as a giant oracle card. But we're still going to pull an oracle card, and I'm going to go ahead, since we did that sweet book full of mothery energy, reading to her child feeling. I'm going to use the Gaia Oracle because that's kind of Mother Earthy feel, and it just feels like the right thing. So we're going to pull a card from the Mother Gaia Oracle, just the Gaia Oracle. I do really love that. I think I have fantastic people who watch my videos who don't mind when I do silly things like read them children's books. It's a good thing to be able to just be yourself and do whatever feels right to do, and know they might giggle at you and say, oh, that Kelly, but they'll still say that's, you know, that's just her. That's okay. All right, so let's see what card we get for today. And today we have, I think we've gotten this before, but I still go with it. We have Eternal Love, and that's going to make me cry, but I'm going to try not to. So that is the card for happiness, harmony, and fulfillment, but it's happiness that's eternal. That says, you know, you can sit down and you can read a book, a children's book that is to your son, even if he's not here, maybe even most especially if he's not here, that love is eternal. And that, you know, what the book was saying about happiness and fulfillment, that sometimes you don't even know, which we talked about this the other day, that sometimes you don't even know when that one little thing is going to travel. It says to travel by 3, and floated and flitted and twirled and ended up, you know, making an impact that you just don't even realize. And we, you know, I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday with my beautiful fountain tarot painting that I can see right now because it's over there. But that there is, I like this ribbon. I guess it's making me think of the book that we just read with the kind of ribbons that was floating off, and that you don't always know how much the world does need you in it. That it's sometimes there are little impacts, but that it makes the bigger picture. And, you know, the very last image of the world, like it all fits together, right? It all fits together into this beautiful thing that sometimes we think over in our little pockets of the world that we're not making an impact, but that we are, just by everyday little things. And that is what harmony and happiness comes from, the kind that is eternal, the kind that does keep, you know, I guess when I think of eternal like this, it's also that sort of self-generating and self-perpetuating and just moving out over across the world and having these little impacts. Like I think we talked about too, like sometimes you don't know when smiling at somebody and saying, you know, I hope you have a wonderful day, really making eye contact with somebody and saying, you don't know when those little things can make quite a big difference, and generates them to then maybe they're going to go on to smile at somebody else and say, and it just starts to build, and it builds and builds, that kind of pay it forward kind of mentality that happens. And so that's, to me, a lot of what eternal love is, because it just generates and moves forward and spreads out until we don't know. We're all tangled up in the energy of each other. And so anything that we do to help ourselves, hold space and grace for ourselves as well as for other people, it's all part and parcel. It's all the same. When we have ourselves and give ourselves grace and space and love to ourselves, that impacts other people, because the way that we are feeling about ourselves then impacts how we interact with others. How we interact with others is just as if we're doing it to ourselves, because that generates that eternal love and that kind of building and moving and churning big thing that we're all connected. It's one of the things that I loved when really studying Buddhism, is that idea of there isn't a you and a me. It's just us. It's just an I. It's just I is us. Yeah, Thich Nhat Hanh says somebody, and I can't remember what it is. It's something along that, like, I can't remember. I can't, but it's that understanding that, you know, what we do to heal ourselves heals the world. And what we do to heal the world, or have a good impact in the world, heals ourselves. You know, interconnected energy. We talk a lot about that. I know I beat that one. I come back to that a lot, but I do think it's really true. I think it's really important. And so don't ever underestimate the power of little things, or the power of yourself. Because I do think that this book that we're going to read to children, which we should be reading to children so they know, that we also need to remind that to ourselves, that you are here for a reason, and that you do have an impact that you don't always see. And it's all part and parcel to this sort of building an eternal happiness and harmony that's just going to spread out. So there you go. That is your story for the night, as well as your card for the day. And I hope this finds you having a wonderful day. Just as a reminder, I will be doing a live video again tomorrow, which is Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know there were some people that are in Australia, because they're a day ahead and they get to live in the future while we live back here in the past. But it is Saturday the 23rd, right? Yeah, Saturday the 23rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you can join in on that, we had a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing what I did last time. I'll be doing basically the daily, you know, the draw. I'll probably do a full moon draw for all of us that I kind of do with my full moon readings. And you know, answer whatever the question is for tomorrow, and just kind of, you know, general chit-chatty stuff. So, like we did last time, it was just a lot of fun. And so I'm going to be doing that, and that will be again tomorrow, the 23rd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you then, and until then, have an absolutely wonderful night and or day.